here with reaction. He is now the author of what is the #1 bestseller now 9 weeks in a row, American Marxism. He's the host of Life, Liberty, and Levin, also nationally syndicated radio host, Mark Levin. Now over 1 million copies sold. Mark, the reason this book is resonating is because it is an antidote to what this country is now going through. I'll open it up to you. We got General Milley. We've got Afghanistan. We've got a border disaster. We're now begging OPEC for energy. We've got inflation. We got fuel prices up $1.50 a gallon. Where would you like to start?
First of all, none of this has to happen. Thank you, Sean, for having me. And I would encourage people who have American Marxism, go to Chapter 7, please, and act on it. That said, let me hit some of this. General Milley, they're going to have a hearing, everybody says, on September 28th, and Milley will be present. What's going to happen is, past his prologues, the Democrat Party will do everything they can to run interference for Milley. They're going to run interference for Milley because they're running interference for Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has a key role in this. There's a telephone conversation between Nancy Pelosi and General Milley in which she, who is absolutely nuts, accuses the president at the time, Trump, of being crazy, talks about nuclear weapons, and Milley says he agrees with her completely. He goes back to the Pentagon, he calls in his subordinates, and they talk about what is our process, and let's go over it for using nuclear weapons. President Trump never even hinted ever about using nuclear weapons. There's no basis for this whatsoever, and I might add in a footnote, I don't know who's more loathsome, Milley, who is loathsome, or Woodward and Costa. If they're all standing by this, and it's big-time news, and it is, they sat on it for months and months when the American people should have known, when Congress should have known, and, of course, the people in the military should have known that we have a rogue general. If they're standing by it, it's appalling what the Washington Post has done with this country, just as bad as Milley. Now, this over-the-horizon stuff, they think it's the Wizard of Oz over the rainbow. Over-horizon, that's a phrase that has absolutely no meaning. We have no intelligence whatsoever left in Afghanistan, and you point out night after night, hostages. His whole country's been held hostage by Biden for 8 months. Let me tell you what's going to happen to most of those American citizens. They're not coming back. Let me tell you what's going to happen to most of those American green card holders. They're not coming back. Let me tell you what's going to happen to those 80,000 or so SIV visa holders, patriots who served with us. They're not coming back, and they hope you forget it. And so now they go to war on Florida and Texas and red southern states that Biden has no hope of winning. What are they doing now? Biden is holding back monoclonal antibodies from Florida and southern states that have been using these antibodies effectively to save people's lives once they get the coronavirus out of nowhere with no warning to any of these states, because the federal government buys them from the producer and then hands them out to the states. He's pulled them back from Republican states and Republican governors. Now, think about that. No president in American history has ever done that either. Look at the southern border. 11,000 Haitians trying to get in? Now, first of all, they had to come from an island nation to come to the United States. Notice when it came to the Cubans, they were clear. You come across those waters, we're sending you back. What about the Haitians? They're here. Why? Because they hope they'll vote Democrat. America, we have an invasion. I don't care what the New York Times or the Washington Post has to say about that or anything else. We have an invasion. Millions of people are coming into this country illegally over a period of time. If he's president for 4 years, could be upwards of 10 million people. Meanwhile, his party in Congress is trying to hand out amnesty like lollipops as fast as possible. Our constitutional constructs under attack, our traditions and adherence to laws under attack, comity, C-O-M-I-T-Y, is under attack because we have this doofus as president of the United States. But I should add, he was a doofus when he had his wits. He's just a disaster. A couple other quick things I want to talk about, too. Pay attention to September 27. September 27 is when the Democrats are back in town, and they want to ram through the most disastrous omnibus bill in American history. Certainly one of them. which will change our constitutional system, which will change our voting system, which will change our immigration system, which massively expands the welfare state, which is going to break the back economically of our children and grandchildren and generations yet born. This guy Biden has lit a match to this society. And when he goes up there and gives these speeches where he lies through his teeth, where he uses Marxist-like propaganda, he turns one people against another people, where he talks about the rich versus the poor and goes on and on and on. He is a destructive person. That's what he is. And the people around him, they talk about diversity. There may be physical diversity. There may be genitalia diversity. There may be color diversity, religious diversity. But when it comes to ideology, there is no diversity. And finally, Sean, the media. You bastards in the media are so corrupt. It is you who have allowed this to happen. It is you. The Washington Post sits on a story like this Milley story for months. The Washington Post and other media push the phony Russia collusion story for years. Now somebody's finally been indicted. The Washington Post, which undermines facts, and the New York Times and so forth and so on, they have a horrific history. They failed to cover the Holocaust. The case of the New York Times, they backed Stalin. They had a bureau chief that was sympathetic to the Third Reich. In 1959, they backed Castro, and that's the paper of record. The media in this country is contributing to its destruction and turning it inside out. This is a battle between liberty and tyranny. There is simply no question about it. That's it.
Chapter